Well, almost 2 years into his first term, President Trump is still surprising everyone with his accomplishments, even some of his most loyal supporters. It's all part of what one author calls the Trump aftershock. Take a look.
This fall, President Trump proved he can still gather huge crowds to campaign rallies as he toured the country in support of midterm candidates. And as Election Day approaches, Democrats' prospects of a blue wave takeover of the House and Senate are not looking as good as they did a few months ago. How has the president maintained a strong base of support, even as the left and the media have hammered away at him daily? Author Stephen Strang says it's because he's delivering on his promise to make America great again. In his new book, Trump Aftershock, Strang says if Trump's election was an earthquake, his accomplishments since then are the aftershocks the world never saw coming.
Well, Stephen Strang is the CEO and founder of Charisma Media. He's the author of a book called Trump Aftershock. And I must say, this is a brilliant group of reporting. You really did stuff, Stephen, that I've never seen in print anywhere. You went deep into the heart of the opposition, and it was brilliant. You're a reporter by craft. It really was good reporting.
Well, thank you. I went to the University of Florida Journalism School and started as a secular journalist. Of course, I spent most of my career as a Christian journalist. And really, I wrote these books because I felt that there was an untold story. You know, it's well known. In fact, you've been talking about it, that the media doesn't really report things, and especially from a Christian perspective.
Well, let me ask you, first of all, this so-called deep state, Brennan, Clapper, Rogers, these other guys, and of course the people of the Justice Department. What about this? Why do they hate Trump so bad?
Well, this is a part of, you know, what we call the deep state. I mean, a couple of years ago, we didn't even know that term, did we? Yeah. But I, for one, knew that there was something really wrong in Washington because a Republican would go, a Democrat would go, and nothing would change. Yeah. And it's because of all these people behind the scenes. And the thing that Donald Trump is that drives people crazy, but that I admire, is that he's a disruptor. He's disrupting the status quo, including these kinds of people. But, you know, we have procedures and laws in the country. You can't just come in and fire everyone. But I think that Trump is cleaning house in a way that nobody else has, because he doesn't care if people don't like him. And a lot of the politicians want to keep everybody happy, as you know.
Well, you talked in this book about the big money that's coming against him. I mean, even, you know, the Oracle of Omaha has got some people. Talk about what you've learned about that.
Well, the book, of course, talks about the aftershocks, and it's really Trump's accomplishments. Okay. But it also talks about the resistance to it. Yeah. And there's a whole chapter that I call Billionaire Radicals, and some of these people are really very radical. George Soros probably being number one. But Warren Buffett that you mentioned, Tom Steyer, these people have put millions of dollars, and it's not just in campaigns. They're actually setting up organizations that give money to Antifa and all these different groups. You think all these protests are spontaneous? I don't think so. I mean, there's evidence that people are paid, that they're bussed in. This is all very well organized. And then, of course, the news media covers every single bit of it.
Well, what about this march? Do you think some of the big money's behind that or not? The march that's coming against all these people from Honduras? Well,
you know, time will tell what's happening. We can, a lot of what we do is speculation. But how can all those people get together? Yeah. What do they eat? Where do they sleep? Where do they go to the bathroom? I mean, this has got to be organized. These things, I mean, we've had illegal immigrants for years, sure, but not thousands at one time. And now they're doing all these crazy things like saying that they have constitutional rights. How can a non-American have any constitutional rights? Some of these people in this lawsuit haven't even been in the United States.
Well, what about the idea of birthright citizenship? Did you explore any of that? I mean, the idea that somebody slips across our border, illegal alien, has a baby, and that baby suddenly is an American citizen with all the rights thereof.
Well, Donald Trump is disrupting even that. You know, this has been going on for a long time. But all the Western countries don't have birthright citizenship. So you can't be a tourist or a diplomat and have a baby in that country. If you do, it's a citizen of wherever the person came from.
Sure.
And it should be like that in the United States. Now, with the illegals and even people coming from China and different things just to have a baby and then they go home, I mean, this is something that really needs to be changed.
Well, there's something in the Constitution that says subject to the laws thereof, and the Supreme Court really hasn't ruled definitively on that, have they?
It doesn't, but Donald Trump will get it to go to the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a decision.
Well, look, Trump has been packing out stadiums. My goodness, has anybody ever drawn the kind of crowds he has over the period of time? It's extraordinary.
I've never seen anything like it, and it's not just one place or even a handful of places. It's every place he goes. You know, he was in one of the smaller Nevada towns, and he packed out a venue of, 6,000 or 7,000. And Joe Biden was across the state. He got fewer than 200 people. And this is not widely reported, but it shows a level of excitement in the base. And every single one of them is exciting. You'd think that people would get tired of it, but people wait hours in line because this president is actually keeping his promises. He's getting things done, and he's turning things around.
What are the major accomplishments that you see? I mean, there's so many that I could go through the list, but give us some of the big ones.
Well, most of your viewers would know, of course, the booming economy, the muscular diplomacy. These are all chapters in Trump Aftershock. As a Christian, I'm thankful that he has become a champion of religious freedom. I mean, look what he did with this missionary, Andrew Brunson, who is in a jail. How many missionaries have been kidnapped or imprisoned, and they just stay there for years? But Donald Trump made an international incident out of this. The Turkish stock market plummeted. I document all this in the book when he put these sanctions against Turkey. And it's like Robert Jeffress, the pastor at First Baptist in Dallas. He said Trump may not be the most religious president we've ever had, but he's certainly the most pro-religion. And I agree with that.
We've never had a president in my lifetime or in any lifetime that's done what he's done for the evangelicals, have we?
That's right. And he's open to Christian leadership. He gets counsel. And I found myself saying on CNN when they were pushing me on how Trump had changed, I said, I believe he's accepted Christ. And while I don't know that firsthand, because he didn't tell me when I interviewed him, because I didn't ask him, people have said that they prayed with him to accept Christ. And something happened about 10 or 15 years ago. And of course, I document all that in the book, too.
Well, he's this brash developer, and is he the Cyrus? I mean, what is he? Well,
during the election, some Christian leaders, when it looked like he could not win at all, started saying he was a Cyrus. And of course, Prime Minister Netanyahu said the same thing. In fact, the Israelis made a coin that showed his profile and a profile of Cyrus. And of course, Cyrus was a pagan king that God could use. So for those of us who don't appreciate or like everything in Trump's past and even a few things that he says now, for me at least, I could accept him because I believe that a story about Cyrus shows that God can use imperfect people, which I'm glad because that means he can use me too.
Is there any question that God put him in that office at this time?
That was the premise of my first book, God and Donald Trump, that God answered the prayers of millions of people that felt the country was going in the wrong direction. I mean, we were losing our rights faster and faster and faster. And if Hillary Clinton had been elected, who I believe is the most corrupt person ever to run for president, who knows what it would have been. But somehow God raised up someone that we didn't expect and was not our first choice. But yet he has fulfilled his promises. His critics talk about his character, but he's got a character trait that almost no politicians have. He keeps his word.
That's right.
I mean, how many politicians, even people that you and I would like, go to Washington and they say, one thing with their campaigning and they do something else once they get in office. But Trump, it's important to him to keep his promises.
I called him, I think I talked to him, asked him to come down here for a rally, and his aide said, you don't want to go to Virginia Beach. It's not going to make anything in your election. you don't want to go down there. He said, well, I promised Pat. I mean, that was the idea. I mean, you know, I made a promise and I'm going to keep it. And that's the way.
And he did.
He did. He showed up. Of course, they had thousands and thousands of people. We had 10,000. We could have gotten 30,000, but the Secret Service wouldn't let us. But it was that every time he comes down, there's thousands of people.
And they stand in line in order to see
him. Amen. Well, this book, ladies and gentlemen, is called Trump Aftershock. And there's some stuff in here that you will not find anywhere else in any other book. I mean, the research is superb, and I give it my warmest endorsement. Is it out now on the market today?
It comes out tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So thank you for letting us premiere it right here.
Thank you. It's called Trump Aftershock. But you don't want to miss these chapters about the money and the deep state. There's some stuff in here that I have never seen anywhere else. You want to read the book. I'm not going to give it away, but it's here for you. Steve, thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, Terry, what's next?
Well, a woman suffers from a lingering infection and intense night sweats.
A sinus infection drains you so much of energy, and you feel just kind of like a rag doll. I told my friend that between this bad sinus infection and the night sweats, it was wearing me out.
See how this grandma gets her groove back after a supernatural healing.